Hi, folks, and welcome to the Witty Vitor podcast. As some of you may know, I recently visited London, and I'm glad to share my first-hand unfiltered impressions of the city. So, in this episode, it's just me, myself, and I, and yourselves on the other end, and I will share my thoughts on how the city's culture and demographics have evolved. In addition, I also share a few travel tips for anyone planning to visit the capital of Great Britain. So make sure to jump into the chat and share your own impressions and let me know what you think of today's London. And if it happens that you disagree with me, no problem. Let me know in the chat box. And if you do agree, it's no harm to say it. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and share to help grow this community and keep this real and raw conversations going. So let me grab my notes here. There's a few things I want to go through, and I will start with some context. Okay, so I visited so far London 6 times, and I happen to compare London with other cities when it comes to visits, and it's the one I visited more often. It's quite remarkable, and perhaps it explains why I was always so eager to relocate to London. Never happened for a few reasons. I was just very much interested in knowing the city with my own pair of eyes. So it's 6 times, including the last one, which was just last weekend. So I stayed in London for 3 nights, arrived on Saturday, left on Monday. It was a quick visit, but full of insights because I managed to sit down with people, which I think it makes a difference for you to get a vibe of the place. What is also interesting about London that although I have visited 6 times, I never went there just for the sake of seeing the city or for the so-called sightseeing. I always went to London with a purpose. Was sometimes was related to events, others about people that I was meeting, work. So it was never a pure visit, let's say, just to see Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, just to go through all those main sites in London City. It was the same this time, so it was no exception. It was not just a purpose, but a couple of them. So one of them was meeting Kate Kernoff, who is the niece of Harry Kernoff, about whom, inspired by whom, I wrote a book called Harry Kernoff's Guests. I'm going to show you. I think I haven't showed this before. So that's something that you guys can order online, or you can also order contacting me directly. You can use Instagram, Facebook, or my email address, which is on the YouTube channel. This is a post poetry book. We'll get into it as I speak about Kate Kernoff, who I met on Saturday. On Sunday, I also had the pleasure of attending Anna Maria Mickiewicz's publishing anniversary. She is now, she was celebrating her 40th publishing anniversary, which is quite remarkable. That took place in the Polish and Culture Association in Hammersmith. And we'll get into it as I talk about my Sunday. Another one was not directly related to me, but I was very happy to bring my girlfriend for the first time to London. She, surprisingly enough, she hasn't visited the city until last weekend. The expectations were not high, and she came back delighted. I would say this was her best surprise ever when it comes to travel. It's funny because sometimes we don't really look forward to a visit or to an event, and we returned amused. And that was the case, and I was very happy to be around and observe that directly. So those were the purpose, and that was the context, and I hope that sets the tone for what's next. We stayed in Hammersmith, as I said, which was quite convenient considering our errands, naming the visiting Kate Kernoff, who doesn't live that far from Hammersmith, and Anna Maria's publishing anniversary, which took place in King Street, which is the main street in Hammersmith, for those who are not that familiar with London. And the other advantage is that it's very easy to get to London City. So you are basically finding yourself in London too, and you can get to the core of the city in a single tube journey of 20 minutes, which, considering London size, it's quite handy. Price wise, it's not as aggressive as London City, so I can only recommend, in terms of logistics, Hammersmith. There are also loads of places to eat and a few pubs. So, but we'll get into Hammersmith in a bit. So, as I said at the start, I don't want to just be talking here myself. I would like to get your input, your views of London. Have you been there? What was your perception? Did you resonate with my comments, or do you think I should be challenged? Use the chat box, and let's try to make this a dialogue and just not myself talking. I have Rogi here. Hi, Rogi. I'm glad you are on the other side. Rogi was with me last Wednesday, and we were discussing the 2 years of October 7. It was a quite sharp conversation and insightful. So I will suggest everyone to explore my channel and watch the show. The show was called 2 years after October 7, so it's very easy to find. So what I want to go through next. Yeah, so I stayed in London City, or in so-called Zone 2. And before I chose the area, I wanted to make sure that I would stay in a safe neighborhood, because I saw so much about London these days that I don't want to risk exposure to some strange individuals, especially taking consideration that I was traveling with my girlfriend, and females, they're always in a more fragile situation. Of course, we were together, but I want to make sure that the travel was smooth. We won't have any issues, any hassles, and that was the case. So there's nothing juicy to share when it comes to strange episodes. We had a good time, but I'm happy to share how I approached this trip and what I made out of it. So I always do some preparation, although I've been in London often. And one of the things I came across online is a so-called London banana. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. You can let me know in the comments. Have you heard of London banana? I know it's a kind of a funny term, but it can be very helpful for your next excursion to London. I will put it here on the screen. I found it on Telegraph. So let me just try to get this right. And I will show you the so-called London banana. Okay. Just bear with me for a second, and I will show you the most famous banana in the UK. Okay, so that's the London banana. So as you know, bananas are not necessarily straight. No, they are somehow curvy, and that banana was something that someone on Twitter drew, I think, a few months back. And what I mean by that is that within that territory, you'll be fine. So there are no major safety issues. You can go around during the day, at night, and you would enjoy London and be back with a smile, which was my experience. Now, what is pretty sad, and that's my first conclusion when I look at this map and the famous banana, is that the banana maybe covers, just looking at it myself, I'd say, I don't know, 20% of London territory, which is quite scary. You would like more of London to be a pleasant place, to be a welcoming area for for everyone, which it goes against all these trends of diversity and everyone can fit. So we stayed in the banana area. Hammersmith is, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere on the edge of the banana. So let's say middle right hand side, and there were no issues. So next time you travel to London, my big recommendation is Google London banana and try to find a place within that territory. Of course, it's not a recipe for 100% safety, but in theory, the chances are that you would be in a much better situation. So now, this is not saying that the other areas are not good. I haven't been in most of them. I know people living in other London parts. They never encountered anything strange, but just to be safe, I would use this guidance to make the most of your London trip. Right, so this is London banana. I think it's easy to remember for the future. We all are familiar with eggs and banana, so we won't forget that when we do our research. Now, the hot topic. Hot topic is the demographics of London. Now, I want to go back to the first time I visited the capital of England. That was, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009, I think. Yeah, around that time. So we're talking about 16 years in the past, and I was on a tight budget. It's not that I'm super wealthy now, but I was in a way smaller budget back then, and my objective of that for that trip was actually were two, not only one. First was attending Diana Krall concert in the Royal Albert Hall. Another one was to see London cities, or the city center. And with that purpose, I wanted to be connected to those two parts of London. I haven't had the financial resources to stay in so-called London 1, so I stayed outskirts. I stayed in London 4, next to the emblematic Wembley Stadium, which was always something I fancy. If I think about my musical and football interests, there's a lot that relates me to that venue. So I stayed in that part of London, and what I would never forget is that there weren't that many British people in the area, perhaps more than in the current day and age, but there were plenty of Pakistanis and Bangladeshis, and I didn't know about it. Of course, internet was already a thing, not as much as today. Was mostly about Google. Social media was still at early stages, but I did my research, and I knew that London was a multicultural place, but I didn't find it. I didn't realize that it would be this colorful, let's say, and that was not necessarily bad. I never felt threatened. I never felt intimidated, but it was different. It was different in the sense that I couldn't experience British culture in the extent I was thinking, and that was a disappointment. Now, I also want to highlight that I'm not just saying here that migration is a bad thing. Okay, there are positive aspects, and we can state the successful stories of UAE or Singapore. Okay, but perhaps instead of just stating these successful stories, we should learn from their migration policies. So what they do, they are quite strict. There is a whole questionnaire. There's a whole list of requirements that people need to go through and satisfy the authorities. Otherwise, they don't get in. And it seems to me, from my impression in those days in London, and other parts of Europe, including here where I live in Ireland, that we are not that demanding. We just open the door and make sure that the newcomers are having a good time without putting any effort. And I think that's unfair. It's unfair for us who are residents and have been putting a lot of effort to improve the society around us. We work hard. We are committed. We are committed with the well-being of our communities. So I'm not sure if that is happening with the new waves of migration, and because we see a lot of individuals, especially men in their military age, are arriving, no families, no kids, and they get an allowance and they just live out of it. I don't think that's fair, especially for the taxpayer who has been the source, of that support. My observation is that it's okay to get people in as long as they contribute, and I doubt if that's the case in many of the people we have allowed in over the last few years. I can mention a few examples as I here in Ireland, and we go back to London in a bit. Sometimes I walk in city centre and I see people that I know they are new to the country, and they are just wandering around during the day. So I wonder what kind of job are they performing? What are their duties? So they are just taking in the good parts without giving anything back. I think that's something that should be questioned, and this is not something racist or anything like that. It doesn't matter where people come from, whether it's Asia, America, Africa, or even other European countries. No, there is a duty, an obligation of being part of the wider society, and you can only become one if you contribute. So that's a question that I think we should ask our authorities. And I didn't encounter a lot of that in London, perhaps because I stayed within the banana area. But even where I stayed in Hammersmith, it didn't feel much of Britain. So what I mean by that is, I would say, percentage-wise, the British population would be, I don't know, 20%, say 30% at the very max, which is strange. It is strange. Like we want to go to a place and experience the local culture, and if the population ratio is it's putting people, native people, as a minority, then it's a problem because we are not there experiencing their culture, but someone else. So that's something I think to consider. Now I know London was also always known for migration, for being multicultural, for offering a lot of different food cuisines, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but that shouldn't annihilate the local culture, and that is happening. Also, I can give an example. When I was walking in King Street, if I exclude the three pubs that were run by British people, all the other shops, perhaps with the exception of, I don't know, 10%, were run by foreigners, and I don't think, first, I don't think that's fair. Second, I don't think that's positive for the city landscape. London was always known as a city of culture, sports, music, and arts. And if it continues that way, I'm not sure if they can hold that title for much longer. So I wouldn't like that to happen in the near future or whatever. Now, in terms of my logistics to the premises where I stayed, I flew to Stansted, direct flight here from Dublin, and took the National Express to London Mile End, which is outside of the banana area, and that was visible. I barely see any British or even a white person. There was probably 2 out of 10. Now, this is not saying that this is not cursing on the other individual. Just it doesn't feel that you are in England or in Great Britain, and I don't want that. I want to arrive to London and feel that I'm in England, just because I want to experience things as they are and not as they are becoming. I don't think that's fair. Um, I wouldn't say it was dodgy in London Mile End, but it wasn't welcoming. In short, I wouldn't have felt like staying there much longer. So I was okay to change there from the bus to the tube, but I'm happy that I didn't pick my hotel in the area. I don't think that's a nice place after sunset. But if you are familiar with the area and if you have a different understanding, I'm more than happy if you can challenge me on the comment section. So we took the tube to Hammersmith. It was nicer, as I said. Was nicer. The atmosphere was friendlier than in London Mile End, but again, not much British culture to explore or to experience. Apart from those 3 pubs, all the other commerce it's in foreign hands, and I don't want to get on a rant here, but I was aware of it, because I read a lot about those issues online, and I talk to people based in Britain and in other parts of Europe, and we all know that this is happening. But I was still sad to see it, because it's one thing when you see it on screens, and it's another one when you are physically there and you are a witness of something awful. I want to say that when I travel, I want to experience local culture. I think that's a main aim. When you head to another country, you want to go there and see what habits natives have, what sort of interactions, their manners, their language, and there wasn't a lot of that. And for instance, I was in Africa. I was in São Tomé and Príncipe in May this year, and I had the chance to experience local culture. I was talking to natives all the time. They were very friendly, very welcoming to us Portuguese or Europeans. There were no say racial tensions, none of that, and that was great because I could really see from a local standpoint what are they experiencing on a day-to-day basis. I couldn't get much of it in London, and I think that's pretty sad. I was the same. I was in Brazil a year ago, and like in São Tomé, I had a chance to talk to locals, and that was great. They were everywhere. They were the majority. We were there as tourists. We were fairly treated, integrated, and we could access local culture. In London, it's very, very hard to find it. You need to pay a lot of attention to try to find that pub where British people are seated and having a beer and a chat. Like most shops, they are not British anymore, and I don't think that's a nice thing. Now, I have to say, although I saw a lot of non-British people in Hammersmith, I haven't seen any gangs or troublemakers. There was none of that. I never felt that something nasty was being prepared, or I should make a turn to avoid uh, that group. No, that is something that it was not part of my time in London. So I want to highlight that. People seem um, uh, pretty decent. Most of them were actually workers. I just would raise the question: I mean, how come that most of the say coffee shop or restaurant chains are in foreign hands? For me, that's quite strange. Uh, s- uh, I don't. I think there will be a lot of appetite among British people to pursue some career in commerce or try to um, set up their own store, but perhaps they don't have incentives. So that's something to question. Why why uh, why most of the day-to-day physical commerce is in foreign hands? I mean, that is weird again because I was in other parts of the world, say in South America, in Asia, and it's not like that. Locals still have the upper hand. I don't know why here in the West, especially in Europe, that is not the case anymore. Now I'm not saying they don't add any value. I think they do. There are a lot of people with good intentions. They are um, adding their own input, and that's great. We should be grateful for those additions, but at the same time, we should be able to keep some space for ourselves. And my impression of London, that is not the case. No, that is not the case. I was not happy to see it. So I felt safe during the day. I felt safe in the evening. Again, there were no issues. I'm pretty sure that if I would have stayed outside of the banana, would be a totally different experience. But Hammersmith, it's completely fine for your daily and evening errands. Um, Even on that note, I'm sorry that I keep going on this rant. Just I'm upset with the with the way demographics are going in Britain and in Europe. I remember on Saturday night heading to a pub in the area by the river where I had a fantastic fish and chips and one of the best IPAs in my whole life. But by the way, shout out for the IPAs in Britain. They are top. Probably Britain is the best place for an IPA fan. But I remember heading to the pub on Saturday night with my girlfriend. And this was around, I don't know, say 7, 8 p.m. And we we we're walking by the river, just getting to that pub, and I saw a couple of I would say they were uh, South Asians, perhaps Arabs, on on a bench, and they were just there, seated. They were not provoking any harm. I'm not targeting those two people. I just felt that they were not part of the wider society. And let me try to unpack that. Like most people who were in that part of London, they were heading to the pub and enjoying their Saturday night, or coming back from the pub and going back home. So we were all somehow making our contribute to the wider British society. Most people are taxpayers, and they want to enjoy themselves outside of their working hours. And one way to uh, pursue that way is socialize in pubs. That's the way they do in Britain, and we do a lot here in Ireland. But I have the impression that those two individuals, um, they are not really interested in uh, that kind of activity. Now, as a libertarian, I totally respect people's interests and hobbies, and we all have different ways to enjoy ourselves. But to me, it's not really positive to see someone who is not adopting some of the um, local culture. And pubs are um a key aspect for British interactions. That's where people gather. That's where people have that chat. That's where they meet and mingle. So if you are not really into pub culture or and you don't need necessarily to be there drinking. There are plenty of non-alcoholic drinks. I'm not here endorsing getting wasted on a Saturday night. Like I saw, actually, I saw a good few individuals in that restaurant were just having food um, or maybe even a glass of wine. Like it was not that everyone was there getting pissed, but if you are not uh, interested in um, let's say the key aspects of the country that welcome you, maybe you should question why do you move there. Like you don't need to adopt everything. There are things that are more your type and things that are not. Like I can say myself here in Ireland, I find myself often disconnected from um, certain features of Irish ethos, and that's fine. But there are others that I embraced, and now I fully um, I fully promote them. So that what I mean by that is that I think when you move to a country, you should be prepared to integrate some of the local manners, because otherwise, no, you are just there for your own advantage. So uh, what sort of input do you provide? And if you are not, you can say, yeah, but these people who are coming outside of Europe, they are not really interested in eating out or gathering outside of their homes. Yeah, I I understand that, but perhaps this part of the role it's not necessarily ideally for you. Like I wouldn't move to a place where I feel feel an alien. I understand that there are things that I'll be more into than others, but if there is such a mismatch, like question yourself, why do you move there? And if you're not really integrated and you're not making an effort, think about it. So that's my rant about people who are not putting any effort to understand the place they move in. So on Saturday, I also visited Kate Kernoff, who, as I said, is the niece of Harry Kernoff, inspired by whom I wrote this poetry book. Okay, and before I talk about the book, I want to say that Kate Kernoff is I met her before. I met her here in Dublin in the Arts and Culture Festival where I gave a talk. She invited me over to visit her and have a chat, seeing Harry Kernoff works with my own eyes in her house, and I was fascinated. Like it's almost like being in the museum. She probably have, I don't know, 20, 25 paintings, woodcuts, sketches, you name it. So I felt I could be there for the rest of my life. And she met obviously as a close family member. She met Harry Kernoff in person. She told me plenty of stories that I will never forget. And another thing that really amused me was her English. She's probably, I don't know exactly her age, but she probably around 80, and she speaks in a language that is not the English we are exposed to on a day-to-day basis, which is it's fascinating how language has changed over time. And I encounter the same when I speak to, say, my parents in Portugal. They speak one Portuguese, and people in my generation and the youngsters now in their 20s, we speak another. So it's interesting to see how language has evolved, and to be it will be a huge task to understand what were the factors to turn the language to what it is now. So she was very mindful with her words. She was and she was not trying to impress me. I had the feeling that she really cared about what she was saying. That she was putting a lot of heart, say, in her sentences, how she communicate, and I think that's beautiful. That individuals in that age group, they care about the way they transmit their ideas to others. I think, again, I'm going on a rant again, but I have the feeling that most people nowadays just speak for the sake of speak, and we should be very very picky with words. Of course, we need to make sure that our conversation makes sense. I'm not just trying to sound sound superior. There's none of that, but there is something about the way we put our words together, how we build phrases, and and we express our opinions and views, and all that. So I was amused. I was seated in front of Kate Kernoff and just thinking that I was in a in a movie. That is something that will stay with me forever. So I also want to thank again Kate Kernoff for allowing me to reproduce Harry Kernoff image in my book. So I'm going to show you some of it. So he is am I showing correct? I think I am. He is a portrait of James Connolly, and then I wrote a prose poem about it. He is Bon Vivant. So she was kind enough to give me permission to reproduce the image in the book, which probably is a good reason to buy this book. And if that is not enough, you can always spend some time with my writing. So the book is called Harry Kernoff's Guest. If you are interested in purchasing, I can ship that to you. It's for sale for €20 plus shipping costs that I will calculate based on your location. And yeah, without Kernoff, the book wouldn't be this precious. So the book is in Portuguese, in English. It was translated by Gary Craig Powell, who have been in my podcast quite a few times. And I also recommend you to check the episodes I held with him and check his writing. He's also a fabulous novelist. I would highlight his last novel. I can't remember now the name, but look for it online. He also has a Substack called Write Dangerously, and it's probably one of the best opinion platforms on the current state of affairs in Britain. Let me also share with you a link here. So I gave a talk on Harry Kernoff. I gave a few, but here in Ireland, in Portugal. But I also gave one for the Liverpool Irish Festival. It was called The Art of Departure. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to share the link here. If you guys are interested in watching it, I'll be happy if you can make the time. So I put here in the comments for those who are interested. Here we go. So that was the Art of the Departure talk I gave on my Harry Kernoff book. And still on that note, I'll be selling copies of this prose poetry collection. Tuesday the 4th of November in Greystone's library. And the reason is myself and Jeroen van Domme and Maria Stravopoulou will be doing a live podcast as part of our YouTube series, Witty Weekly Writers Workshop. So if you are interested and happen to be in Ireland on that day, I'll be grateful to see you there. So to be Tuesday, the 4th of November. We already defined the time. It's 6:30 in the evening. So we'll be doing a live podcast. We'll try to broadcast for individuals that are outside of Ireland or they cannot make it to the event. We're still working on the technical parts, but it should be fine. So I hope to see you there. I wanna put also here the link to our last episode for those who miss it. We talked 3 topics as usual. One was the intersection of dreams and writing. The other one was the impacts of travel on writing, and the third was how we bring personal experiences to our characters and fiction writing. So it's a writing series. So if you are into creativity, make sure to check it out. We do it here on this YouTube channel every month. We don't have an exact date, but it's always on a Tuesday, 8:30. So just subscribe and you'll be notified of the upcoming episodes. The next is live 4th of November, but we'll be doing more in December and in the upcoming year. I'm actually looking forward for November because let me also share other things that I have in the pipeline before I go back to London. So there will be this live episode in Greystone's library with Jeroen and Maria. Then myself and Marco will participate in the Global Learning Day in memory of Rabbi Sack, and that's on the 11th of November, probably 7:30 Irish time. So we'll do a special edition of our podcast series with a focus on Rabbi Sack philosophy. And there is, for football fans, there is a massive game on, just check the calendar that I get it right, on the 9th of November, the FAI Cup final, and myself, Cornell, John O'Shea, and perhaps a few other Cork City fans will have a preview of the game on Thursday 6th, and then the week after, I want to gather a few League of Ireland fans. We will do a final review of the season, which will finish with that game on the 9th. So that's 3 massive things taking place next month. So if you subscribe, you'll be notified of the additional details. So make sure to press that button. And I haven't seen any comments, but if you have something to share, I'm more than happy to pick and comment myself. And if you happen to disagree, no problem. This is an open and honest conversation. And we are all learning here, and I'm more than happy to be challenged. Now back to London. So I have a lot to say. So I need to check my notes if you don't mind. Right. So this was Harry Kernoff. Okay, so on Sunday, we visited the main sites of London City. You probably know them, even haven't been there because they are so remarkable. Westminster, Big Ben, Trafalgar Square, and I was positively impressed with that part of London. If I compare it to Dublin, I find London city centre way more, and I hope Irish people won't crucify me with this, but that's my opinion. I find it way more elegant and compact. Okay, and there is a degree of harmony that I don't really experience in Dublin city centre. And I think Dublin is not in the right direction. Quite the opposite. We can do a session on London. Just I don't want to get sidetracked here. I just want to say that London city is very well maintained. It seems that the authorities care about the state of the buildings, about how the streets are kept. Or perhaps I was just lucky, but it's my perception, and I can only share what I saw. So I was there on a Sunday morning, which is typically a quiet time of the week. I think I picked a good time, since let's say if you go on a Friday or even on a Thursday, let alone Saturday, it will be crowded, and you don't want that. You don't want that, especially when you are in places where there's so much beauty that can be impacted by the crowd. So I think we picked the right day and time of the day, Sunday morning. So if you were to visit London, I really suggest you to replicate our option. Make your way to London City in the morning. Doesn't need to be that early. Like we got there perhaps at 10, and it was still, it wasn't empty, of course, but it was you could breathe, let's say, which I think is not the case if you visited in another weekday. Price. Nothing I don't want to say that I was not expecting, and I was positively surprised, was price-wise. London City is not much more expensive than Hammersmith, where I stayed for food and drinks. I thought that would be aggressive. It wasn't the case. It was, I think it was decent. We're talking about one of the wealthiest countries in Europe, one of the most visited cities in the world, and it was it was what we would expect from a place that offers so much. So I can only recommend London City if you visit on a Sunday morning. I don't know how annoying it can be if you go another day. If you are like me, that you don't want to wait for 5 minutes to take a photo because there's someone taking a photo. You know what I mean? So that was Sunday morning. See, we have a couple of things to say. Just first on Sunday. Yeah, so Sunday afternoon, I was honored to attend Anna Maria Mickiewicz's 40th publishing anniversary. For those who don't know Anna Maria, she is a poet, a publisher, journalist. She's translated it like a handful of language. I cannot even name all here. I lost count. And it's fair with it's well deserved. She is quite talented. She is really someone who cares about arts and in particular poetry. And the event was 5 stars. It was her and another British poet reading her stuff, and Eva Maria Doroskowska on the piano. Here is the program we receive on arrival. So if you miss that event, I would recommend you to visit at least the premises. What are they called? Polish Arts and Culture Association. I think that's it. Anyway, there's a big Polish institute in King Street in Hammersmith, and it really feels like being in Poland. So it's not only when it comes to arts. There's an awesome restaurant with all sorts of Polish uh, um, um, dishes and drinks and desserts and all that. So yeah, that's one place to visit. They also have a shop where they sell Polish items, handcraft and that kind of stuff. So I I highly recommend. I will show you here. Anna Maria's publisher, which is she's based in London, and she's publishing not only Polish authors but people who are interested in being translated into Polish. And I was one of them, by the way. I was one of them, and that's how I got to know her. But she was kind enough to publish my poetry book, which was first written in Portuguese. Okay, this in English would be like not always Savage sonnets. It's a poetry book I wrote when I was living in Poland. First 6 months in Katowice, the last 6 in Krakow, and that was just translated to Polish. I don't dare to pronounce the title in Polish, but for Polish speakers that are watching this, I will show you where you can find my book for sale, and if you are interested, I'll be very happy if you can order it. So it's for sale in Amazon. Here we go. So here it is, a description of my book in English, perhaps because I'm on the Irish version of Amazon or the British version of Amazon. So it says, is a poetic journey through Silesia inspired by the year Vicente spent living between Katowice and Krakow. Written with authenticity and emotional transparency, these poems capture fleeting moments, landscapes, and encounters that shaped the author's experience of a region often seen from the outside. With his signature style, Vicente transforms observation through introspection, geography into poetry. So it's for sale for only £7.50 pen. Yeah, they call it pen there. And with your permission, I'm going to show you the page of literary waves, which is Anna's publishing house. Here we go. So here is me and my book, but there are several other authors. So you can order. I think most of the books are in Polish, but I suspect there are also a few that are bilingual, Polish and English. So have a look. I will put the link in the description, or I'll probably put in the chat, which is easier, I think, for folks. So check it out. It's worth having a look. Right. So that was Sunday afternoon. Yeah, Sunday afternoon. Okay. Let me just get my notes because I don't want to miss anything here. Yeah. So Monday, last day, we spent it in Golders Green, which is for those who are not that familiar with London, is a Jewish quarter of the capital of Britain in North London. At the beginning, we thought of staying there, given that I know the area. I stayed there at least 2 or 3 times. I can't remember there, but at least now. But I think at least 2 times I stayed in Golders Green. But this time, because I had so much to do in around the Hammersmith area, I opted to stay in a different part of London. So yeah, we were there for a good few hours. And what really struck me is that locals, I mean, and what I mean by that is Jewish residents, they were going back and forth like nothing happened recently in Britain. I think most of you heard of the dreadful attack in Manchester, which resulted in at least 2 killings and a few other people injured. And the people were just living like normally, which for someone who have been to Israel like myself, it's not that unusual, given Jewish resilience being a vital aspect of Israeli day-to-day routine. But I was not sure if in the diaspora the Jewish community would be able to be that brave. And if I think of Golders Green, then the answer is yes, they are. I was very happy to see that with my own eyes. People were preparing themselves for Sukkot. So talking about last weekend, Sukkot was on Tuesday. And so they were getting their shopping done. There was no fear. There was no anxiety. There was none of that. I think they were fairly confident out and about, despite the recent attack in Manchester and the growing anti-Semitism in the UK. So I want to give a big shout out for the Jewish community in Golders Green for not bending and and being themselves unapologetically. That's how I think we should deal with the threats we face on a day-to-day basis. There were a lot of sorry, I just got something on my phone, but I'm not paying attention to it now. There were plenty of UK flags in Golders Green. That was another thing that I was very happy with. I didn't see any in Hammersmith or in London City, but I would say I encountered at least 10 just in Golders Green Road, and I was thrilled to see that the Jewish community is patriotic. They are Jews, but they're also British, and that's something that resonates with an experience that I heard from that lovely lady called Kate Kernoff. So Kate, she visited Israel sometime in the 70s. She was there working in a kibbutz, and she was there with other British Jews. And in that kibbutz, besides that group, there were also American Jews. And she said that the British Jews, they were first Jews, then they were British. And with the Americans, it would be the other way around. First they're Americans, and then they're Jews. So that's something to explore. Why is that? Why in Europe we care about our nationality as a second thing. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad or a positive thing, but maybe it's something worth unpacking. Maybe it's something that I can bring to one of the Wednesday's discussions. The other thing I want to say of Golders Green is it's a great place to someone who is into food. There's no shortage of places to eat, and if you are someone like me who lives in diaspora and misses Israel, Golders Green can offer a glimpse of how the Holy Land is. So I was very moved to be there, and perhaps next time I'm in London, if there is no event I need to attend and I need to be around, I'll be happy staying again in Golders Green. So let's come to the conclusion, and again, I want this to be a two-sided conversation. So any comments, any remarks, make sure to use the chat box. This is a dialogue. It's not just me talking. So I'm more than happy to get your thoughts and put them on the screen. What I would say of London overall, that I would just stick to the so-called London banana. Okay, London banana. It's a amazing place to visit. There's still plenty of things to be entertained with when it comes to culture, sports, eating, drinking. There's no reason to be bored. Okay, so I would promote that London, because I think it still makes sense. It's still the London we were used to. Now there is a chance that this London is at risk, and I don't know how long that London that we experience will last. I have the feeling that London can become what, let's say, Singapore is now. It's a multicultural society based on a financial and corporate hub. Would that work? I'm not sure, because I think there's loads of history that cannot be set aside in London. So the other thing is that the Singapore approach to migration is very different from Keir Starmer. Don't get me started on Keir Starmer here, but we all know that the Singapore government is very, very picky with the people they let in, and it will be good if we Europeans can adopt a similar approach. And it's not just for our benefit; it's also for the newcomers. I think everyone will be in a different situation if we will know who is coming in, and not just this open door uncontrolled migration policy. There's a chance that our cities will be upside down and will be unrecognizable going forward. We don't want that. It's okay to be mixed, but it still needs to smell like local culture with some addition, not just a whole mess as we have now. That's and that's not bearable. I don't think that's bearable. Now, as of travel tip, I don't know if you are aware of this or not. I was just told last minute, but it's very easy to go around in London, not just because the public transport is efficient, but it's also simple to get on the tube or on the bus. What I mean by that is you need to think of purchasing that card, like those Oyster cards. Days are now a blast from the past. I think maybe maybe soon we can tell others that I'm still from the Oyster card times. This is no longer a thing. I remember being in London not a long time ago, and one of the preoccupation was to purchase that Oyster card. It's no longer needed, and the reason is you can just use your debit card to get on the tube. And if you don't know, if you are like myself, you don't want to use your main card because you don't want banks to track where were you or on what were you doing. Although I just shared it all here in this podcast, so there are no more secrets. You can just use let's say Revolut, which for most of us is our card B or second card. So with that, you can just get around, and at the end of the day or day after, you'll be charged accordingly. So it's very handy to move around. I like that. I wouldn't use my main card because I want to keep myself anonymous to a degree, although I'm sharing a lot here, as I said. But it's simple and makes everyone life easier. So yeah, that shouldn't stop you anymore. Because I remember being in London, being very worried about uh, what zones am I crossing and at what time, because there will be a specific fare for that. And yes, there is still a specific fare, and it's good to have an understanding of it, just not to be surprised. But it will be charged in your card, so you don't need to say top up that amount to be sure that you can get from A to B, because as long as you have enough money in your bank account, and you should have some money in your bank account, go to an expensive city like London, then you'll be just fine. Yeah, so those were my conclusions from being in London for a few days. I was glad to be back after, I think it was 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. It was more than 10 for sure. And the city have changed a lot. I'm preoccupied with the demographics. I think there is a demographic disaster going on. And it's not just in London, but I think we still have time to implement the remedy. So I'm more than happy to take your comments, questions. If not during the live session, put them in the chat box. I'll pick them later on. I read them all. If you enjoy this conversation, let me know by pressing the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you can, because that's how this thing gets distributed. The more subscribers I have, the more serious I'm more serious I'm taking in consideration by YouTube. So I think that's it for now. I hope you have more trips in the pipeline and more conclusions or opinions to share with you. Perhaps not this year. It's already 10th of the 10th. Now I think I'm happy enough with my errands in 2025. I invite everyone who is in Ireland or happen to be in Ireland to attend my Witty Writers Workshop, 4th of November, with Jeroen and Maria. And to join us next week. There will be shows on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I will publicize the guests and the topics in the next few days. So make sure to be part of the community. Press that subscribe button below, and you'll be told of the exact times and themes. And with that, I wish everyone a good weekend, and I talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.